Dear brothers and sisters, the liturgical readings of the fourth Sunday in Ordinary Times invite us to reflect on the characteristic dimensions of discipleship. The first reading from Zephaniah instructs us the disciples on the art of seeking the Lord. In the second reading, St. Paul tells us that disciples is God's gift, even though we don't deserve it. And in the Gospel today, the Beatitudes spell out clearly and decisively the characteristic dimensions of discipleship. I would like to focus my reflection today on the Beatitudes, knowing well the risk of reflecting on this familiar and popular theme of the Gospels. We have read and reflected on the Beatitudes umpteen times. Naturally, our minds would resist another reflection on this oft-repeated theme. However, I would like to confess that my reflection may not offer an extraordinary insight into the Beatitudes, but treat them differently as characteristic dimensions of discipleship. Deep down in our hearts, all of us want to be happy, blessed, and privileged. Recognizing these inner yearnings of every heart, Jesus confirms and consoles his disciples in the way of their Beatitudes, ironically, not in the way the world perceives and pursues happiness. Who among us would want to believe that being poor and persecuted is a privileged status? It defies every sense of logic when you say that being underprivileged is a privileged position. It is like saying that you are fortunate because you are unfortunate. Well, it may defy the logic, but not the sense. The first Beatitude says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." To be poor is to be blessed. According to me, this Beatitude is not only the first, but also the foundation and encapsulation of all the other Beatitudes. In it, Jesus reveals to his disciples of their most fundamental dispositions and their consequences. Poverty of the spirit is an expression of total dependence on God for everything. A disciple who is totally dependent on God for everything is easily disposed to all other Beatitudes. For instance, a God-dependent disciple mourns or honestly acknowledges his or her inadequacies. That disciple is meek who does not engage in inflating his or her self-estimation. Such a disciple is righteous and fosters rightly ordered relationships with God and others. If we believe in rightly ordered relationships, which is the essence of the reign of God, then we will not experience difficulties in being merciful. The Beatitude on clean hands and pure heart signifies the integrity of the disciple. Peacemaking or conflict resolution comes naturally to such a person who believes in the rightly ordered relationships. These disciples are bound to face challenges, sufferings, and persecutions, but that cannot prevent them from experiencing their blessedness. It is significant to note that on the day we celebrate the Feast of All Saints and are called to holiness, the liturgy presents us with the Beatitudes. Coincidentally, on 29th January, we also commemorate the memory of St. Joseph in Adamitz, a great missionary to China, for whom Beatitudes became part of his nature. In the words of Bishop Henninghaus, most of the time, the eyes of Fu Shen Fu, as St. Adamitz was called in Chinese, shone with such attractive goodness, with such kind serenity, that the Chinese easily trusted him and felt at home with him. Inspired by the example of St. Joseph in Adamitz, we are called to examine our lives and see how we are blessed personally and which are the most challenging beatitudes for us today